And that sound means it's the start of another Missal for the masses. I am your host, Gary.
And I'm Casey.
And this is the Chaplain's Assistance Motor Pod. This is the podcast that's centered around the vehicles, playsets, and even trailers of the G.I. Joe, a real American hero toy line from 1982 to the present day. We also talk G.I. Joe and connected comics, and sometimes figures in other military and adventure toy lines. So, good evening, Casey, and what's going on in your world of collecting?
Just got a few more Valaverse figures. That's about it. Excited for the O-rings, Super 7.
Did you order some off of?
Not yet. I think I'm just going to get them off Big Bad. Just pay that $4 flat shipping.
Yeah, I did. I made a couple financial mistakes with this one, and I'm just going to leave it at that. I might have bought a few sets too many.
Nice.
I overcommitted myself to a variety of people, and but I'm going to maintain my commitments because it's so new, it's so fresh. I haven't picked them up at Target; they haven't hit my targets yet. They look pretty good.
I think so.
I think they look faithful
Oh, yeah.
to what we saw at Joe Fest.
Yeah. My buddy Eric, he was like, well, the cover girl looks cartoony. I'm like, she's supposed to. It's from the Sunbow. He's like, well, that makes sense. It looks great.
Yeah, it's like, I'm going to complain about this thing because it looks like what it's supposed to look like.
Yeah. I mean, he just didn't realize. I think he was thinking it was going to be, straight from 1983, 84 releases, their version of it. And now I'm like, it's comic books and cartoons.
And from what has been said here and everywhere else, Super 7 is concentrating on making things that we haven't received yet. So you're not going to get CoverGirl with red hair. You're not going to get, Commando Snake Eyes from 82. Obviously he's going to do a Snake Eyes because he wants to get money because he's
Right.
in business. And that's something that's always going to sell. And, like Cobra Commander, props to him. I think it's criminal that it's taken this long to get his second version of an O-ring 85 Snake Eyes.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't even looked lately. Is that figure's got to be what, $80 to $100 right now?
I don't know. 4 years ago when I got it, I paid 100 for it. 100, 110. But it's immaculate.
Yeah, and the obviously the demand is there. So like when Hasbro did those retro O-rings and they did the 82 Snake Eyes again, I'm like, what the it's the most produced Snake Eyes mold.
Right. But I mean, I'm excited for it. I think they're going to give us stuff that, like you said, that's not been released. And I'm excited to see where they go beyond the figures. Like, I think they can do some great play sets. Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. I want to see vehicles. I want to see play sets. I want to see basically an O-ring line from them.
Yes.
And, I think he's excited enough now that he has a license, but he's just got to prove the fact that the market will bear it.
Yeah, that's up to us 118 scale collectors. If we want G.I. Joe O-rings, we have to buy G.I. Joe O-rings. They're not going to make them if we don't buy them.
Correct. Yeah, and then it's going to disappear, and then everyone's going to complain about, well, why didn't we get this and why didn't we get that? Because you didn't buy it when it was there. But the other thing too is this is also a line that it's not for just the G.I. Joe people. This is for he's for this to succeed, it needs to be more than niche. It needs to be Joe Q public walks into their Target, they see that 85 Snake Eyes, they see that Cobra Commander, they see that Bats, and they pick it up off the shelf, and they're not a hardcore O-ring guy.
Right.
And that's really where the success of this line is.
But that's also what worries me. I, I don't know. I don't see a lot of kids going there buying GI Joes, regardless of 6 inch, 3 3/4.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, kids overall for any toy line really should be the focus.
It should be.
Hasbro, always puts 4 up on their packaging and stuff, and because they're still aiming at a wide audience, a huge net, and it's almost like they're kidding themselves. I mean, there are some, and Casey, you see the posts on Facebook, and we have our friend Jason, whose kid actually is into GI Joe.
Yes.
It's but that by and large is the exception and not the rule.
Right. I think for GI Joe to reach the kids, they got to have another cartoon. I don't think there's any way around it. They got to get the kids interested in the toys.
Yes, there needs to be a media presence that's more than comic, because even comics are getting niche.
Yeah.
I mean, really, ever since the, not to get too far into a comic discussion, but I think you'd agree with me. The death of comics as a huge audience was the death of the spinner rack in grocery stores and drugstores.
Yep.
And that's mid '90s, and so I don't know. I don't have all the answers. I'm sorry.
That's why we don't have toy companies.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe Super 7 and Grindstone. They're better off answering these questions or understanding the limitations of their business, I guess.
Also, just real quick, if it's allowed, Delta 17 has now got their GI Joe exclusive Okamis online at their store, and the first issue of the comic. If you guys have not read that comic, I highly recommend it. You've read it, right?
Yes, I'm curious about issue number 2.
Oh yeah, I'm excited for 2. I hope it comes out sooner rather than later, because number 1 left me like, all right, I got to see what happens next.
It's a good. I think it's a good start to a story. I actually liked that comic book better than the Valaverse comic book. I
Me
read
too.
that too, and it was the Valaverse is a little disjointed from issue to issue. I think I have the first story arc. That's the way I felt. It was trying to be like a little bit like special missions without being special missions, if the way I could say it. But I really would like to see more of Delta 17, and and see if Operation Recall,
Oh
if
yeah.
what Carson teased at Joe Fest materializes.
Yeah. And I read the Valaverse comic, but I borrowed it from Eric in the trade paperback form, so I just read it all through, and I liked it. I really enjoyed it. I liked the dark, like grittiness of the story and the characters, but just the first comic of Delta 17 made me want the next one so bad. So
Oh,
that's all I'm gonna say on it.
and that's what an issue 1 should do.
It should, yes.
Everything should grab you. It's
Yep.
we talk about Void Rivals enough. Void Rivals started off with a bang, and then it kind of simmered for a while. It was interesting, but it wasn't like something that was like, oh, I'm gonna, can't wait. It was always on my pile to read, but it was
Yeah.
never at the top. You know what I mean? So,
Oh yeah.
but now it's like every Energon Universe title is, for the most part,
Yeah,
it's
they're all
running
great.
up and running. Yeah.
Yeah. Can't wait till the Joe. Is it going to be ongoing, the team book, or is it going to be miniseries? Do you know?
Uh, from what I remember, not being prepared to talk about comics.
Sorry,
No, it's
I'm
fine.
excited for it.
Yeah, from what I remember, that's an ongoing.
That's good.
Um, I just hope that, like a lot of GI Joe and continuity, restarts, reboot. I wouldn't call this a reboot, but a new continuity launch. I hope it has a long life,
Yeah,
uh, which you know IDW's was like 7 years, and it really faded behind Larry Hama's run. It's you know Devil's Due probably had the most successful version, and it only ended because Hasbro pulled the licensing.
yeah.
So anyway, I am hopeful. I look forward to the Energon universe and its continued existence.
How would you like to see O-ring figures of the Energon universe?
Bring it on.
Yes.
Honestly, bring it on. I would fully support that 120%.
Yeah, I'd be all in for sure.
So, I'll, the only other thing I got going on is I'm still preparing, getting my stuff together for the October 6th toy show for myself in New Haven. So I'm getting everything ready. It's been hard moving boxes of stuff, getting it wrapped for transit. Half of everything's priced as it should be, but
Yeah.
that's my big thing.
So that Saturday for that weekend, I will be in at the Great Ohio Toy Show. So if anybody's going to go to that, let me know.
So there you have it, listeners. See Casey at the Great Ohio Toy Show. See me at the New Haven Comic and Collectible Spectacular, and we'll be out and about, and we'll probably be dog tired that weekend.
Probably.
So I guess I think we're ready to review tonight's topic.
I am ready.
And this week we are talking about 1986's Dreadnok Thunder Machine. Right now, I'm giving Casey the reins on picking out vehicles, playsets, or even trailers, so that we can talk about them together. And Casey, showed me all of his Cobra vehicles, and this one's not really a Cobra vehicle.
Cobra adjacent.
Adjacent. They're the enemy.
Yes.
And for all new listeners, and to refresh any returning listeners, we talk about the box of the toy. We talk about the driver, if applicable. We talk about the blueprints, and then we talk about the toy itself. Sometimes not necessarily in that order, but we do try to keep it nice and concise and cover a little bit of everything to give people everything they need to know or want to know about the vehicle playset or trailer in question. And Casey, we open up, we're looking at the box here. I don't have the box. I don't think you do either.
Uh-uh.
So we have G.I. Joe, Dreadnok's the enemy, Dreadnok Thunder Machine, weapons do not shoot. We have the Thunder Machine driving stage left, uh, blazing its cannons. You got Thrasher in the bubble in the lower right hand corner. Uh, Anything you want to talk about this wonderful, beautiful painted image?
First off, it's amazing. Yeah. It's so Mad Max. I think that's one of the reasons why I love the Thunder Machine. It, the Gatling guns are awesome. And it's just beautiful art. I love how all the dreadnoughts are there. Is that monkey wrench in the front? He looks blonde.
He looks, yes, I would say that's Monkey Wrench, also from 1986. And I think he looks blonde just because of the sheer amount of muzzle flash going on in this painting.
And Torch's torch right there by his.
I like the perspective, how it's like coming out of the box, the way it's, you know, the way it's painted, perspective. Thrasher is driving full tilt, Buzzers on the is riding next to Thrasher on the running board with Ripper
uh,
behind him, and like I said, Monkey Wrench is shotgun, and Torch is next to Monkey Wrench on the running board. I like the fact that the little foot pegs are painted on. You got some treads on the tire. You got the headlamps on. So I think the front of the box, well covered. You got the ammo belt underneath the Gatling guns.
hmm
I don't know anything. You got the. I like all the lights. You have like the Casey daylighter lights on top of
Really,
Thrasher and Monkey Wrench, and behind it you have the police fire department light bar. It's just like there's a lot going on because there is a lot going on with this toy.
yeah. Just give in mind the once over, and whoever put the decals on does a worse job than I do, and I'm not good.
Yeah, mine's less than stellar too. But I also should point out that the images we're looking at together are brought to us by 3D Joe's and Carson Metaxas. Uh, 3D Joe's, a wonderful resource for all things 1982 to 1994 Joe. And
Yep.
also, just to continue plugging his wonderful Collecting the Art of G.I. Joe Omnibus. It's a C note well spent.
Yes, it's awesome.
So we'll turn the box around. We'll get a look at the way they marketed the toy to kids and maybe parents. So the Dreadnok Thunder Machine. The Dreadnok's Thunder Machine is a jet-powered four-wheel drive land vehicle fabricated from used auto and truck parts. It's fully equipped with high-tech battle gear, especially designed by enemy weapons supplier Destro. Yeah. Uh, Mad Max and Destro normally doesn't go in the same description. Going around the vehicle on the back, we have the jet powered engine, super realistic detail, removable armored side panels, steerable front wheels, armored windshield, front roll cage, and twin multi barrel machine gun rotates. Does not shoot. The running boards carry up to 4 figures on each side, other figures sold separately. We got blueprints inside, and then it goes on and lists everything else that's in the box. And then finally, it was 3 flag points, and
What's
the MSRP was $6.69. So Casey,
a
what
bargain?
do you want to say?
That's a bargain for what it is. I mean, now I wonder what that would be in today's dollars.
I think it would be roughly $25.
$25.
Yeah, most everything from the 80s is 4 times. That's my mental inflation adjuster right now. I could be totally wrong.
I'm trying to see if there's any changes because, like, most of the time we find that this is a prototype.
It looks a little squished on the box, or that could just be the perspective shot, but it looks shorter than what it is.
They'll say, yeah, it looks more like a Jeep there.
Yeah, the wheelbase is shortened, but I don't think it was. Uh
Well, I don't know. Look at the front.
yeah,
This looks different. At least to me, it does.
unless mine's assembled wrong, which could be. But usually, no. Yeah, the front looks like it's on a little tighter.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what it is? I can tell you what it is. So look at the front, like you said, look at your front of the back of the box,
Hmm.
like where the front tire is. On the actual toy, they opened up the wheel well so the tires can turn.
Yes, that's what it is. So again, early prototype. They made their modifications, improvements. Yeah, I think both of them look cool though.
Yeah, no, I mean it's a good thing. So it's pretty accurate. Did It looks like there's supposed to be a yellow sticker on the top of that like little light bar thing right above the armored windshield. See what I'm
I
pointing at?
think I have one on mine.
Yeah, mine's missing.
Yeah, I do not have it on mine.
All right. So
I don't think I have a spot for it on mine because that one looks like it's got
it's like a
a
little
little
bubble.
space next to the bar. Yeah, but I don't have that.
Yeah, like that's where it's supposed to be.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I got that one. I thought you were talking about like right there on the frame. I got the yellow one right there.
Okay, I don't. Mine fell off at one point. I'm only left with the one Thunder Machine now. I've, simplified my collection over the years. So, I kind of regret having only one Thunder Machine, but we'll get to that later. So, with the Thunder Machine is our wonderful driver, Thrasher. Taking a look at the file card, codename Thrasher, Thunder Machine driver. Thrasher was spoiled rotten as a child by his nice middle class parents in their nice middle class neighborhood. He was never disciplined, since his parents believed this would stifle energies he might need later in life. Thrasher was never denied anything he asked for, even though everything underlined he asked for wound up causing some type of unexplainable destruction or minor disaster. He got everything he wanted, but that wasn't enough. At a tender young age, this wild child wandered into the swamps where he could do what he pleased. It was in the swamps where he met up with Zartan and the Dreadnoks and was welcomed into the fold. Even by Dreadnok standards, this guy is pretty low. He derives a slight sensation, which almost registers as pleasure on his primitive central nervous system from inflicting misery onto others.
Nice guy.
Yeah, he's the stereotypical spoiled rotten kid. And I there's a lot of things here to unpack. Do you have a couple thoughts about Thrasher first?
Since I didn't have this as a child, I don't have a lot of, let's say, I didn't never played with it, so I don't have a lot of fond memories for Thrasher or the Thunder Machine. And Thrasher wasn't used too much in the comic books, but I mean, he's a cool looking character. He's a Dreadnok. I love Dreadnoks. I don't know. I don't know if he's been in the Energon universe yet. I don't remember seeing him.
Nope, the Thunder Machine was, but it
Yeah,
was Ripper's Thunder Machine.
that's right. They're cutting him out already. But he had, I think one of my best memories is it was an issue of the comic where it was kind of squaring off with,
Cross Country.
yeah, cross country and, oh,
The Havoc?
what is Havoc? Yes, thank you. I'm glad Eric's not right here. He'd be yelling at me. But in the
He is in
tall
spirit.
weeds, yeah,
So I think that was
that,
issue 52.
I know it was in there around there.
Yes, because he comes up around right after the Battle of Springfield in issue 50. I
Yeah,
know so it's early on, and there was like a couple issues right then and there. It was the Havoc versus the Thunder Machine.
Mm, that was a good one.
Yes.
But yeah, I don't have a lot of memories about it. Not like the Wolverine or the Fang or stuff I had as a child. But I picked it up a couple years ago at a toy store called Gray Skull Collectibles in Indianapolis, Indiana, and I got it not for $15. I got it for like I think 30 with the with Thrasher, and it's really cool. I wish I'd had it as a kid. I think it would have been a lot of fun.
Yeah, mine came out of a childhood collection I picked up. But my memories of the Thunder Machine, because I was like you, didn't have it as a child, but a lot of mine come from the Sunbow series. So Thrasher in Sunbow was my characterization, and the famous GI Joe the movies, Zorana, I didn't know it was you. That is really the most Thrasher I had for from 86 to 87 till about 90, 92, 93 when I started getting back issues of GI Joe the comic book as I was starting to collect it. And yeah, he also has a nice storyline later on in like the late 70s where the Dreadnoks are going up against Battle Force 2000, and they're in the New Jersey marshlands with like Mutt and Junkyard, and Buzzer really does something nasty. He takes this chainsaw to Junkyard,
Yeah, yeah,
and but like really Thrasher didn't really do too much. Oh, and there was also when they were escaping Sierra Gordo on the
he
airplane.
got his he got
He
his nose broke.
and they kept breaking it. Crazy Legs just keeps punching it. It was just
That was
awesome.
pretty good. Yeah,
Yeah, that was early 70s. Yeah, so he did get some spotlight.
yeah,
Reading the file card to get off to get back to the file card of all things is you know Thrasher is that spoiled kid, and then you think about him going to the Dreadnoks. He wants to be part of the Dreadnoks. He's just reckless and he's rough. But like, why would the Dreadnoks want this spoiled middle class kid? And I almost think it's kind of like he would bring them stuff like,
yeah,
oh, my mommy and daddy brought me this, and we can use it to cause mayhem and destruction. So he was almost like, think of the Thunder Machine. He's the vehicle supplier.
yeah.
Like, I think you chuckled too when you saw Destro's name attached to the Thunder Machine. It was just like, come on. Now, this is Thrasher. The Thunder Machine is a cobbled up thing that, and I'm also looking at this too, right? It doesn't say Thrasher built the Thunder Machine,
Well, in my mind, he always did though.
right?
In my head canon, I felt like he always built it.
Because, he's causing all this destruction, but did he have it in him to be the creation? I mean, maybe the green highlights, in his hair highlight his creative side, but I don't know. It's just one thing I noticed in this thing. But let's talk a little bit about the figure and his weapon. So, Thrasher is a ball neck GI Joe from 1986, much like all his contemporaries. Swivel arm battle grip. He's got the silver boots with 4 silver spikes on each shin. He's got silver shin guards. He's got, like, I don't know if you call them chaps, but he's got, like gray leather going up his thigh to like some black pants. But then his waist piece is all gray. The waist piece has some buttons on it. He's got a black belt with like silver buttons all over it. He's got a pocket on his right hip. And then we go up. He's got a bare midriff, with a green shirt underneath. what I'm going to assume is a lacrosse pads, chest protector. The lacrosse pads go out to his arms where there's like some brown like armor sleeves underneath. He's got a gray glove on his right hand with a black leather studded what do you call it, bracelet.
Yeah,
And then on his left hand it's kind of like Mutt, where he has like a thick padded glove. So I'm going to assume, with the general theme of lacrosse, that that might have something to do with that. Although I am not familiar with lacrosse, so any middle class people that would like to correct me on lacrosse, go right ahead. ChaplinJoePod@gmail.com or ChaplinJoePod anywhere you find social media. Uh, but he's kind of got like that Elvis curl to his hair with the two green streaks through this top and side, and that's really the figure. And then he comes with a lacrosse stick. It looks like the net's been cut out, and it has a mace bolted into the frame.
I am missing his weapons. That's the one thing I do not have, and I always thought that was pretty cool. Now it makes more sense that he was a spoiled kid, so he probably did play lacrosse.
Well, he was energetic, Casey. We just got to
Yes.
get him into sports, and the energy will be dissipated for when he gets home to do his studies. I just see a lot going right with this figure. I really love what they did with this figure and what they accomplished.
It's classic Dreadnought.
It is. Anything else on Thrasher, Casey? You think we got him all covered, or
No, he's a fantastic figure. But I'm a huge Dreadnought fan, so I think he slots right in there with the other ones. If anything, the line could have used more Dreadnoughts.
absolutely agree with that? So we've covered the box, we've covered the driver Thrasher. Now it's time to take a look at the blueprints, and it's 17 points of taking a look at what they're calling out for. I did review this. I tried doing some research on this tonight before the podcast, and a couple things stuck out. The first off is the, in quotes, high noon, high intensity xenon spot lamps. So those are what I call like the KC daylighters on top of the Thunder Machine, lighting the way forward. We have two, the infrared target acquisition scanner. And that's, I guess, that little yellow dot thing that I don't have, but you do. We have number three, the pre-selectable. No, wait, before I get to number three, I'm playing with this thing. I don't think there needs to be a target acquisition scanner on this thing.
No,
That's very not Dreadnocky.
I don't know. Maybe that's part of the Mars technology that he took and used.
You
Because
think
now in my head, since it's got some Destro influence, he just used Mars parts.
do you think Mummy and Daddy paid for that?
Oh, I'm sure they did. His trust fund or whatever.
All right. The number three is the pre-selectable multi-band processor antenna. That makes sense. I think Thrasher's using a CB. We go to number four, the reinforced tubular forward protection roll cage. So that is essentially that the blue guard that sits atop the hood of the Thunder Machine that the twin Gatling guns shoot through.
Hmm.
We get to number five, the junked race car front grille. So that is more than loosely based on a 1979 to 1981 Pontiac Firebird Trans Am. It's all it's missing is the little divider between the quad headlamps.
Just a little side note there. That was my wife's first car was a '79 Trans Am.
So she must enjoy looking at the Thunder Machine too. We get to number 6, the dual synchronized penetrator Gatling cannons. And I love these cannons.
They're fantastic.
This is the play feature of play features of this toy.
Mm-hmm.
You know what's interesting? In a lot of these, it always tells you the caliber or the size of the, like 30 millimeter, 20 millimeter. But this one doesn't say the size, but you have these big ass bullets on the
Yeah,
belt, which we're going to cover in just a second. We'll just call it. It's the Fast Fire woven alloy ammo belt. Casey, when you're looking at this, what do those guns scream? Are those what do you think they are?
50 cals.
See, and that's where I am. It doesn't say anything.
But the size of the bullets make me think 50 cal.
The bullets seem large to me at this scale for 50 cal. It's almost like maybe 20 millimeter, but not much larger than that. But it's definitely armor penetrating.
Yeah.
And twin Gatling. I mean, gosh only knows how much this fires off. I mean, it's like having a Rattler or a A10 Warthog on the hood of this thing.
Just picturing young Casey playing with this against his Joes. It would be vicious.
Would it be mowing them down?
It probably would be. I tend to lean Cobra. I don't know what that is.
I'm here for the Dreadnoks. I love the Dreadnoks. As I've gotten to know more about G.I. Joe and the designs and stuff, like I've always liked the Dreadnoks because of my affinity for Mad Max. And now with what they're doing in the Energon universe and making them credible threats, they're not just like thugs. They're they're real players on the world terrorist scene. I like that more. But I mean, this vehicle is just, this is the first real Dreadnought vehicle that I knew of.
Yeah.
I didn't know about the Sears sets in 1986, but I sure as heck knew about the Thunder Machine.
And just thinking back at all the other Dreadnought vehicles, this is the best one, in my opinion.
I agree. But that's not to give away our scores for the end of the episode.
No, that doesn't go against that.
No, but
it's the only one I own.
We need to fix that, Casey. We need to fix that.
Yeah, I've got a lot of holes in my collection that I tend to fill with just coming up Joe Fest.
So everybody, Casey will give out his personal information at the end of the show so that you can reach out to him to help him fill out his collection.
What is that? Put like an account thing out there. Hey, just find me some Joes. No, just kidding.
Tell us where they're at least.
Yeah.
So now we're going to get to one of my favorite parts is nitpicking this thing to death. The 205/50 VR15 racing tires. So, Casey, do you recognize the wheels that these tires are mounted to?
I do not.
That is a reuse of mold. That is the same wheel as the Ferret.
Really? I have to pull that down later and check it out.
So, yep. So the only difference between the Ferret and the Thunder Machine is really the tires that mount on them. So you get a couple extra parts Thunder Machines. You can have an urban Ferret, or you can put those front paddle tires on your Thunder Machine. The possibilities are just endless. But the other thing I want to say is, as somebody that's been involved with auto racing and stuff, a 205/50/15 tire is not big. So we know that, for scale, the Thunder Machine is comparable to a Pontiac Firebird, because we have a piece of Pontiac Firebird on the car. So a 205 5015 tire is something that you would find on a Mazda Miata. The tire, that size is small. That's a very small tire. I'm just going to put that out there. So we'll go to number 9, the fully adjustable variable select suspension. So that's pointing out to essentially the front suspension. I guess it just means it's, Thrasher can align it when needed. You get to number 10, the 2-station lateral personnel platform. And I don't know, Casey, I count 8 foot pegs. I think that's more than 2 people. I think you could fit 8 guys on 4 on each side of the Thunder Machine with the 2 in the middle.
Oh, yeah.
The Thunder Machine can carry 10 figures. The Whale can only carry 9. The Thunder Machine has more carrying capacity. But I liked 1985 and 1986 because then they really had foot pegs everywhere.
Foot pegs are important.
Absolutely. So we'll get to the individual high back bioform command seats,
which I just put my Thrasher in.
Yeah, I think that just stands for these seats are very comfortable for the driver and the person riding shotgun. And then we get to number 12, the personnel protection side armor shields, which I like, just like on the Stinger and Vamp Mark II.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get to the extend tubular space frame roll cage. And I'm going to say this is a better roll cage than in the Stinger or Vamp because the character's head sits inside it.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's I love those 2 vehicles, but that's always going to be a pain point for me. And, the Thunder Machine and the Awe Striker are much better in that regard. We get to 14, the multi-vane adjustable alloy jet intake. So that's basically the jet intake right behind Thrasher's head. Do you think Thrasher, sitting so close to a jet engine, has hearing problems?
He should.
At the very least, tinnitus. If not, he's going to need the Cobra surgeons to augment him with, hearing aids.
He's probably got like these little earplugs he uses when he drives.
Yeah. That must be really, frustrating if Zartan's riding shotgun. He's trying to give him directions.
Yeah.
He's like, what? What?
They don't do anything for safety.
No, Cobra, safety, yeah, sure.
Yeah. They don't have an OSHA.
No. There's no OSHA on Cobra Island.
Nope.
We get to 15, the knock dead 21,000 thrust pound turbojet. That's nuts. That's like fighter jet territory. I was looking on line. They basically said it's like a jet dragster engine. And I think it's more than that. We get to the 225/60 HR15 off-road tires. And just saying, that's probably the size tire that came stock on a Pontiac Firebird. So, I mean, personally, if I was to rewrite this just a little bit as a car guy, I would say the front tires would be like 275/50 15s, big, wide, and also taller because of the larger section width. Maybe 275/60 15s. But the rears, I'd say like are 32 by 11 and a halves or 31, just an off-road truck tire. But that's just me being me. And then finally, the 17, the hand-laid carbon graphite tire shields. So, a little carbon fiber on the old Thunder Machine, painted red.
I love the color scheme. I really do.
It works. I like this color scheme for the Dreadnoks better than what the Sears color scheme is,
Yeah.
but I don't dislike the Sears color scheme. But like you said, this is just it's solid. It's a good mix of Cobra colors
Hmm.
and overall the aesthetic of the Thunder Machine really allows it to pull off, and it looks patchwork.
Yeah, it definitely looks Frankenstein.
Yeah, I'm thinking, Thrasher built this or the Dreadnoks built this almost like they took a dirt track car frame and they just cut it and welded it, fit a jet engine in it, and just went absolutely to town. And then because, at one point I think Thrasher probably had a Pontiac Firebird, he cut the front off of it and put it on this car.
Yeah, I think it's awesome.
Now the only other thing I had for it was the only thing I could find really on other information on this, well, because I looked through creating GI Joe to see if it was in the table of contents on the website. I didn't see it, but I found it on Joepedia. They're saying its maximum road speed was 115 miles per hour, um, and cross country was 53 miles per hour. And I was looking at that, and it weighed 4.2 tons. Maximum range 750 miles. So I'm looking through this, and I'm like 150 miles per hour in this jalopy's pretty fast,
Yeah,
but that's a pretty big jet engine.
that's what I was thinking.
I think on road this thing should be much higher. Try almost near supercar territory, like one 170, 180. As you're getting closer to 200 miles per hour before you really can't get before you just die in a big fiery wreck.
Yeah, I think it'd been faster than that.
I think as a kid, I would have totally been all over the jet engine, driving everything. But as an adult, I think there is a V8 engine somewhere in there. And the jet engine's like the Batmobile. You turn it on for
Hmm.
like turbo boost. You got the Gatling cannons, notable in the Marvel comics, and for having the belt loop go over the machine guns, not underneath as it should. That gives it a nice place where, well, we know that for the toy it's a loop, right? But
Yes.
that loop goes underneath, which makes you think that maybe the belts are being fed from underneath the chassis and then feeding into the Gatling guns. I think, it's a well thought out toy. 6 years old, I would have loved this thing.
Oh yeah. I'm surprised there's no rockets though. Rockets were a big thing back in the day.
Yes, GI Joe did tend to, over weaponize the vehicles. Like, the bridge layer has machine guns and stuff on it, but but yeah, like you said, it's why are there no like side missiles underneath the floorboards? Like the ferret.
Maybe they're trying to keep the cost down.
But it also works as a dreadnought vehicle. Like you said, it's the best one. And I do agree. Is the fact that because it's such a blunt instrument, you think about those the Gatling guns do not traverse, they do not
Mm.
elevate, they're pointed downrange, and that's all there is to it. I wish they were aimed level on the toy. They are pointing down a little bit, but I'm not really going to complain too much. That's a nitpick by far. But really, I mean, it's got a lot going on. And you've got a ton of detail with that police light bar on the top. The jet engine on the back, it looks like a real jet engine with, tanks and just, dials. It looks like you got the sticker that says, Ram Turbo Danger. There's just a lot of great information. The you got tail lights on the back, tail light stickers to a split rear bumper, which allows for the trailer hitch.
Gotta have the trailer hitch.
Yeah, well, I mean, you could tow an asp with it. This
Yeah.
is, it's like, hey, Dreadnoks, get off your tookish and come support, the Cobra troops. They did it in the Cobra Island Civil War. The roll cage is good. You got the steering wheel. You've got the one rear view mirror on the side. You've got gauges on the dashboard. There's a lot of detail without it being busy. You got the armor plating on the side. It's like a steel tub. It's very square. There's a 30-second clip on 3D Joe's of Ron Rudett talking about designing the Thunder Machine and his inspiration. No, Mad Max. I don't think that's a spoiler. And this thing is like, design wise, assembly wise, this is like a model kit. It's to me, this is a home run. It is so Dreadnok, it hurts. Now, Casey, as a 6-year-old, you're playing with it. As an adult, you're playing with it. Pretend you're 6 years old and playing with it. How are you playing with it? How are you using the Thunder Machine?
I guess now at 52, I would like to build a diorama for it because I think it would look good in a diorama. But 6-year-old Casey would have it outside in the grass or inside on the carpet, running down Joe's with it. And I like the fact that he's got to be coming right at you to shoot you because it seems like that's the kind of person Thrasher is. He's just all for it. He's going to come at you. But it's very playable, I think.
Yeah, it totally is. I'm the same way. I think, Zartan or his siblings would be always riding shotgun. Anybody else would be lucky to get the running boards and hold on for their lives.
When it hits 150, yeah.
Yeah. I think this thing's doing wheelies. It's like, oh, I need to elevate the guns. Well, I'm just gonna, kick in the turbo thruster and put, pop a wheelie and then it would shoot down the Sky Striker or something silly. That's as a kid. As an adult, who I'm thinking is Thrasher's arch nemesis on the Joe team? I'm thinking Clutch.
Yeah.
So Clutch is the kid from New Jersey. He just comes across as nobody extra privileged or anything. He's a greaser. He worked at Manny's Mean Machines. I know the cartoon and the comic pitched Cross Country
Hmm.
and the Havoc, basically because they both came out the same year. The Havoc really only faces forward too with its two main guns, but whereas the Havoc is kind of fantastical with that clear canopy in the front that turns it into a death trap,
Yeah.
especially when Cross Country doesn't lift the main guns to open it. But I think this versus the Vamp, the Vamp or the Vamp Mark II is absolutely apropos. And just because, those guys would be similar, similar but different backgrounds.
In one of the Cobra Commander comics from Energon, didn't they tie someone to the back hitch and drag them?
Yes. Yes. That was,
Yes. I was thinking that when you was talking about the hitch. I was like, oh, there's another reason to have that hitch back there.
you too can drag your G.I. Joe figures behind the Thunder Machine.
Chain sold separately.
Oh, gosh. You can use your tow hook from your Wolverine.
Yeah.
Snap, 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 snap. I think, are you ready to rate this, Casey?
I am.
I'll go first.
Okay.
Overall, It's the definitive, to me, the definitive Dreadnok machine. It sets the standard for all Dreadnok vehicles. It got remade as Soundwave in the
Yeah.
Transformers Cross G.I. Joe line. This is a 5-star G.I. Joe figure, G.I. Joe toy for me. I think anybody that's collecting O-Ring Joes should have one.
I would go 4.5 because to me it's great, but it's not perfect. It's not the maggot.
Not the maggot. Okay.
Maggot's 5-star.
There's a lot of toy in the maggot.
There is still one of my favorite episodes you ever did.
So yeah, well, I guess we have it for the Thunder Machine.
It's very, very good.
So we got one more feedback on the whale episode, and I just want to mention to Ash Cavanis, he he wrote on our Facebook page, great episode, had to get this one out and play around with it, and then he posted a picture of his whale on his flag with his box behind it. Very impressive.
Nice.
Very cool. So thanks, Ash, for your feedback. Really appreciate it.
And your whale episode was great. I loved it.
John was worried about how he did on the show, and I says, don't worry about it. And the feedback has been...
It was great.
And just so everybody knows, Casey also appreciates good feedback.
You won't see any. It's all right.
That concludes this Missal for the Masses. This has been the Chaplain's Assistance Motorpod, and thank you for listening. The Chaplain Assistance Motorpod is hosted by Spotify for podcasters and is also found on many of the other popular podcatchers. Please like, share, review, comment, or otherwise interact with them, as it only helps to improve and grow this podcast. For more Chaplain's Assistance Motorpod, you can find me on social media at Chaplain Joe Pod on Facebook, Instagram, and X, or you can send an email to chaplainjoepod@gmail.com.
And if you want to get a hold of me, you can check us out on Podcast from the Pit on YouTube, or Podcast from the Pit on Instagram, Facebook, X. I think that's only, or you can email us at podcastfromthepit@gmail.com.
And the Chaplain's Assistance Motorpod is estranged, but not estranged, nerdy little brother of The Pint, a pop culture podcast, and a shape-shifting hypnosis kind of guy isn't in my corner at all. And with all of that said and done, one final missile for the masses: be decent to one another.
Take care, everybody.